Traditionally, fall is a busy time for gardeners. Most of us have heard all about the fall cleanup you need to do in your garden. Things like raking leaves, cleaning out dead stems, and a ton of general tidying up to ensure that the often non-native plants remain healthy, which can add up to a ton of work for just a small patch of flowers or vegetable garden. But here's some great news. When using native plants to garden for pollinators and wildlife, much of the traditional fall cleanup is not only unnecessary, but could even be detrimental to your goals. And if you don't have to do all that fall cleanup, then it gives you more time to enjoy the ever-changing natural world fall has to offer. Fall is awesome, so more free time to enjoy it is always a good thing. Am I right? So let's talk about what you need to know and do for fall cleanup in the pollinator and wildlife garden. If we're just looking at the value to pollinators and wildlife, then the best fall cleanup routine is often to leave everything just as it is. Think about it. Nobody goes around and does a fall cleanup in the woods, forest, and fields. At least not in the sense we humans think about cleaning things. Things do get cleaned up, just on nature's timetable with the help of flora, fauna, microbes, fungi, and weather. There are, however, 2 fall garden cleanup steps we can skip or cut back on to help emulate what nature does. First thing we can skip when doing fall pollinator garden maintenance is raking leaves. Just let the leaves stay where they fall from the trees. Their name says it all. Leave them. The fallen leaves will provide overwintering locations for butterflies and moths, both adults and overwintering larvae, pupae, or eggs, next year's queen bumblebees, a variety of other insects, not to mention potentially salamanders, frogs, toads, red bats, and a variety of other animals that aren't insects. In addition, many of our favorite backyard songbirds like the Carolina wren will spend the winter picking through the leaves as they hunt for insects and other prey. Leaves are also Mother Nature's mulch and can form a blanket of protection for tender young seeds or seedlings. Of course, there are some situations when leaving the leaves in some parts of your yard may not be the best idea, or even allowed due to circumstances beyond your control. I'll discuss some possible alternatives for these situations in a bit. If you love to learn about ways to save time doing fall garden chores while at the same time helping pollinators and wildlife, think about that like button as a nice big blooming fall aster and pollinate that like button. Another thing we can do is allow the stems, seed heads, and other dead vegetation from earlier in the season to remain standing. The eggs for a variety of insects may be hidden on the dead vegetation, not to mention butterfly chrysalises that can look remarkably like crumpled dead leaves. The pupae of other insects may be developing inside galls, and not all galls are as noticeable as the ones that we often find on goldenrod. Some of our native bees also lay their eggs inside the stems of plants where the next generation of bees will develop for an entire year before emerging the following spring. That standing dead vegetation will also attract numerous birds. Some birds like sparrows and goldfinches will visit the seed heads throughout the winter to search for any remaining seeds. Other species of birds will search along the stems of the plants looking for insects or even drilling into galls to gobble down the pupa hidden inside. The standing dead vegetation can also serve as cover for the birds to hide in or take shelter in during inclement weather. Of course, there are times when a little cleanup may be needed. I think we can all agree that removing the leaves from sidewalks, driveways, and similar hard surfaces is a good idea. Wet leaves on hard surfaces can become slick, so removing the leaves is a good idea for the safety of ourselves and those around us. Plus, those locations aren't good places for pollinators and wildlife to be overwintering because there's too much risk of them getting squashed from plodding feet and rolling wheels. Or maybe you have an HOA or city ordinance that requires leaves to be raked from areas with street frontage, or your yard is situated in a way where the leaves blow into the street where they can be a hazard to motorcycles and cars. What to do then? Can you move the leaves to your backyard or side yard? Could you rake and maintain a winding path through the leaves that would invoke the feeling of a path through the woods, while also giving the cues to care that show this is a design choice and not a lack of caring or laziness? Those are a couple solutions for some of the common challenges that I hear about. In the end, you must find the right balance for you and your family. Just do the best you can, and sometimes that means getting creative with your solutions. Remember, leaving some of your leaves is far better than leaving none of your leaves. And if you have to rake some of them, moving them to another part of your property will help preserve any critters that may be taking refuge in them. When it comes to standing dead vegetation, it's okay to remove some of it if you need to. For example, if the vegetation starts to fall across the sidewalk or out into the driveway, then it might cause you or a loved one to get so aggravated that you declare native plants to be too messy and end up pulling them all out. Cutting back the offending vegetation that is falling into those high traffic areas or is causing the aggravation is okay. Same goes for meeting HOA or community ordinances about how your yard can look. Trim what you must to stay in compliance, and advocate for changes to more environmentally friendly regulations in the future. If you can stack or pile the cut stems in another area, then many of the insects that might be on or in the vegetation will still emerge in the spring. Even if you can't do that, then you are still providing habitat during other seasons, and hopefully there are other areas of your yard where you can leave some standing dead vegetation to provide winter habitat. It is all about balance. You must be able to use and enjoy your yard too. The critters will happily share it with you. Finding the balance between your needs and those of pollinators and wildlife is something we cover on a nearly daily basis in the backyard ecology community. Think of it as a group learning experience aimed at helping you become a better steward of your land so you and the wildlife around you can enjoy it. I will put a link in the description for those of you who would like to learn more about the backyard ecology community. If you enjoy working in your garden during the fall and are looking for something which can replace the traditional fall cleanup routine, then consider planting more native plants. We traditionally think of spring as the planting season because that is when many of our popular garden vegetables and non-native ornamentals are planted. However, fall is the best time of year to plant native perennial wildflowers, trees, and shrubs. And you can learn why this is the case in this video, and be sure to get out and explore nature in your backyard.